Hello and welcome back to another episode of Honey Sundays. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I just wanted to record this really quick because we had a lot of technical difficulties with the sound, so please bear with us. There's some weird pauses in here, but we did the best we could and we're just going to go with it. So thank you for tuning in and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Honey Sundays. Today I am so excited because my friend Therese is here and there's so much I want to share. This might be a 3-hour podcast. We might pull a Joe Rogan. We don't know what's going to happen. But Therese, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Okay, this is really exciting because I feel like I've been a part of the creation of the behind the scenes of this podcast, down to like the branding and the getting it, pushing you to get it going. So this is really cool to be on it. And when it's really big someday, I can say I was one of the first guests. So one of the first 10.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Teresa's one of those people where she's just like, you know how you have those catalysts in your life to push you to do what you've always been talking to do, but you just don't actually like make the move. She's like, why haven't you done it? And I'm like, I don't know. Good question. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the vision. You just need those sounding boards. So thank you for that. Yes, you've been a co-creator.
Oh, co-creator. When the like credits come up at the end of the show, like I want my name there.
All right, perfect. I will do that. Okay, so Therese and I, to give everyone a quick background, so we actually met in Spain in college. So she went to University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I went to University of Kentucky, but then we both studied abroad, same semester, same program in Spain. And it was amazing. And I'm just going to touch on this really quickly because I feel like context is so important. We kind of kept in touch, socials, whatever. But then this past year, we also attended this health and fitness event called Running Man, which I've probably mentioned. If you follow me on Instagram or any socials, I've definitely posted about it. But then, yeah, it just like rekindled and stayed in touch much more often, which is amazing. And she's still in Wisconsin, and I'm in Colorado now, not Kentucky. But yeah, just such a fun story and full circle of all that has happened since, and just all the people that are placed in your life at different times. Such a gift. And you are one of those. So I'm really excited.
Thank you. I know it's crazy because we, as you mentioned, met in a hotel lobby in Madrid the day that we got there. And you were with our friend Kim. And I thought to myself, oh, these girls are so pretty. They look so cool. I got to say hi. And we had one mutual friend because you were from Illinois and I was from Wisconsin. And lo and behold, when we were across the world together, it just felt, we're Midwest people. So it felt like a good connection and we stayed connected. But there was a time where we didn't talk to each other for years and it was just because we lived in different places. And do you remember when I randomly called you?
Yes. Yes, I do remember that.
I was trialing out a challenge for my sister and brother-in-law's company. And one of the, I think I told you this, one of the challenge questions was reach out to a friend who you haven't talked to in a while. And I called you and you said, Therese Merkel, is that you? And so from there, then you came to you were in Madison, and we saw each other. And that, yeah, I just think it's really cool where, we knew each other from 10 years ago and a couple years passed, but now I talk to you more than I ever have.
Yeah.
Especially after running in our weekly Monday meetings.
It's just funny because I think call to action too, for those listening, like Therese literally called me. We probably like truly radio silence for, I don't know, 2 years. And then she was like, hey, what's up? So call the person that you just, you're like, it's not that you're not friends, you're really good friends, but you just live in different spaces. Call them today just for fun and be like, hey, how's it going? Because it's led to so many fun things this year, last year, and then going forward. And yeah, we'll talk about our weekly meetings too. One thing though, I want to jump into. So we're going to talk about Teresa's background and her career and everything later. But more importantly, yesterday, I shared a big dream with you in our meeting. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the vision, kind of like the podcast. I'm not going to tell you guys. We can't tell them what it is yet. But One thing you said that I think is really, really good, and this can apply to anything for anyone that is listening, but she said you need to stop asking for permission and only you know your vision. And with all of your experience, which again we'll go into in a little bit, but I want you to expand on that because I feel like that is so good for anything that we're trying to do. Sometimes we overshare and then it kills it, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, tell us your thoughts. Tell us all your thoughts.
Okay, so you know those strength finder tests and quizzes, bazillion, this one is called strength finders. I found out when I first took that quiz, probably 10 years ago, probably the same time I met you, that my number one strength is taking action. And so I do feel very strongly about this. And in my own journey with entrepreneurship, it feels like a lot of times as women, especially growing up as girls, people tell us we're praised for staying in line and being polite and being quiet and being a good girl. And then a lot of times it feels like guys are praised for, boys just being boys. Oh, rub some dirt on it, like make mistakes. And we don't have that same, I did not have that same mentality growing up. So it can feel like you're going against the grain when not everything is lined up and not every light is green because we were told to wait until things were a certain way to take action. So, yes, I'm a very big proponent to taking action and not making it perfect and doing it anyway. And I mean, I could go on and on. I have to remind myself all the time too to take action. It's not like I
Yeah.
just sit and I'm an action machine, but it's the one thing that actually
hmm
gets things done.
Well, and I think one of the things you said is like, this is where I catch myself. When we have self doubt, we're sometimes outsourcing. For those that don't know, like Therese has a brick and mortar. She's got a charcuterie business. She also just launched another business that's a branch off of that, but kind of its own thing, which we'll talk about. But especially being a business owner or just any aspect in life, I feel like sometimes I tell people like my dream, my plan, and I want them to say, yes, you should do it instead of just doing it imperfectly. And yeah, the thing you said yesterday was like, you're the only person that knows your vision. And
Mhm.
I think you're a perfect person to share that because you've literally built 2 businesses and several other things. And it's almost like if you shared too much along the way, it could have actually been self-doubt or maybe distracted you from taking action
Yeah.
in the time you
There's
did.
actually this saying, I don't know where this saying comes from. I don't know if it's true, but people say if you have a good idea, don't share it. Because, you know,
Yes, I've
you
heard that.
you'll look for permission, but most people that love you are going to try to push you back in line. And that's because there are safer things that you can do, but safe is just I look at it as like a flat line. What are the you were a medical person. On that those meters?
Mhm.
It's like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like death. If it's just a flat line, you're just
Yeah.
coasting through life. Oh, congrats, you got to the
Mhm.
finish line and there were no ups and downs. And I definitely feel
Yeah.
like as an entrepreneur and what makes life exciting is having the potential for a huge upswing, but on the other side of it, it's also the risk along the way. And
And to branch off of that, because we've both read this book, but guys, if you haven't read You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, there's a quote that she says in the book. She's got a couple of books, like You Are a Badass is the original one. Then there's one at Making Money and then Habits and stuff like that. But one thing she says, and going back to like people pushing you down, is she says the reason why people will push you down is because the version of you that they know has basically died. And like, say I'm becoming an entrepreneur or doing something big and grandiose, and I tell someone that's an old friend from high school. I don't know. They have this version of me in their head. And when I change who I am and what that version of me
yeah.
is, she says it's because you died to them. That old version of you has died to them. And this is where I think people lose friendships in if when they're on track for growth. And we've talked about this a lot because it's like who's going to be along for the ride when you're actually succeeding. It's really easy to be along for the ride and being like when you're struggling, like, yeah, Therese, I'll encourage you and whatever. But when you're actually succeeding, you have to be completely selfless and like, yes, go you. That's amazing because then we start looking at ourselves and thinking less than about ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say even so Andy and I, we meet every Monday, but one of the things that we're talking about now during our meetings, we're reading another book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which like, oh, the cover looks so boring. I would have never finally got taken action on reading it if it wasn't for having a friend to read along. But the book talks about where we're at in the book right now is setting up your mission and your values. And one value that Annie and I feel very strongly about, and I think if you're listening to this podcast, you would feel the same way, is growth. And so that's a value in my companies. One of our commandments is growth, or, protecting against complacency, because and even looking at life, when you're growing, you might
Mhm.
outgrow things, people or relationships, which is the most painful thing to outgrow. And I was talking to Kenan about this, my husband Kenan, for those listening, that haven't met him. Hi, Kenan's my husband. But I was telling him the other day, I was like, "Oh, I am so envious of these people." In one side, I feel like I am envious of these people who have been friends with their high school besties their whole life. But then I said, but not at the cost of not growing, because I have, grown distant from people and places that I felt a little stagnant, and nothing against them.
Mhm.
They're so fun and amazing people, but we just had a different vision. Going back to vision,
Mhm.
and we want to grow towards it. I don't just want to have a vision and say, yeah, like, yeah, I thought of that first, or yeah, I didn't do it, but I thought of
Mhm.
it, or yeah, that sounds cool. I wish I would have done that. I don't want to be in that position.
Yeah. One thing to touch on here is that your vision is shaped by your values, usually. When I got married, I will never forget this. One girl had gotten married pretty much straight out of college. I got married a few years after college, but it still felt like we were one of the earlier ones to get married. And I remember she came to visit. She's kind of like a friend of a friend, so I don't talk to her all the time, but she came to visit. We all got together and she was like, Have friends treated you different now that you're married?" And I had never thought about it, but immediately I was like, yes. Like my single friends don't invite me to things
Mhm.
anymore now that I'm married. And it's no like, it's not bad of them. I get it. They're like, oh, well, she's married. She's hanging out with her husband. She doesn't want to go. And it's not like a malicious thing, but it is just interesting of how our values change. And then I will say parenting is another one where once you have kids, I just feel like I have become ruthless with like who is taking my energy and who I'm putting energy into because of the fact that really I need to direct majority of my energy at my daughter. I don't want to be spreading thin. And I feel like this is the same with business, I'm sure, where you have to be ruthless in your boundaries of who's speaking into you and who's not so you can stay on this trajectory for growth.
Mhm. I definitely would say life has we've talked about this, but a pruning season of sorts.
Mhm,
People say you can be successful at anything you want, but not everything. Wait, did that make
mhm,
sense? Anything, but not everything. So if you have a fraction of your energy in all these different places, it's not aligned. I'm kind of like yes girl. I love saying yes to things.
mhm,
And then when COVID hit, it gave me a chance to have a lot of time by myself and not do anything, and I was able to kind of build my business up. But
mhm,
even, now I find myself trying to just, like, clear up my schedule, clear up even, my businesses. Like, I had 4 businesses at one point, now I'm back down to 3, and I feel really solid about it. But just realigning my energy, and then also looking at my social calendar and the people I'm spending time with. But I mean, I don't mean to be all cutthroat. Like, I love getting together with people and meeting different people, but
mhm,
it's been really cool to have a friend like Andy right here, right now, where we make time for each other every Monday because we are helping each other reach our goals. As opposed to it is nice to have friends where you can chat with and catch up about life and stuff. But I want to like lock in
mhm,
with someone and like go to the moon together, which is
mhm,
what it feels like. I've been married for exactly 2 years on the dot right now, 2 years in one day.
Oh.
And it feels and it feels like that's what marriage is too. You kinda like you're hyper on the same page with someone and you get connected and then you're kind of like have a growth goal together, which makes the relationship more
Mhm.
meaningful.
Yeah. Also, happy late anniversary. I didn't know
Thank
that.
you.
Let's touch on how our meetings came about because I also really want to preface of Therese, as you hear, has 3 businesses right now, thriving, killing it, and I don't have any businesses right now.
This is a
But
business
the
now.
thing that's very cool.
Honey Sunday, baby.
Yeah,
Baby
the
T-shirt. It's
podcast,
a
I guess.
logo. It's a business.
This will this will be a business, but basically they started as accountability meetings and we're like, all right, let's meet every Monday for an hour and just talk about what we're working towards and then obviously like touching on all things in life. And then basically especially the accountability of like what are 3 things you want to accomplish, or it's not even that rigid, to be
It's gotten
honest.
real loose.
Like I feel like we kind of yeah, I was gonna say we kind of started with that. Like we're reading a book together, guys. We're reading this slowly,
Real slow.
but it is just nice to have someone in your corner. And again, I have a toddler. We're in completely different places in life. However, going back to the values conversation, I would highly recommend. I think this is like one of the most productive seasons and encouraging seasons because of Therese and because of shared vision of growth and different things. So I would really encourage this. Actually, just came up with a friend too. She's reading a book and was talking about like an accountability or a meetup every so often because community is so important and everything's virtual now. And it's like, granted, Therese and I meet virtually, but at the same time, it's also just like who is in your corner? Who's your community that you can build off of? So, highly recommend for anyone that's even considering this or never really thought about it, maybe. It doesn't even have to be structured, but let's check in for 30 minutes on a Monday of it could be health goals or something like that. I think accountability is everything because there's so much distraction in our
Yeah.
world. So, I don't know. I just wanted to shout that out, but do you have any
Well,
thoughts?
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember because we were at Running Man together, the Health and Wellness Festival, but it was before that we were kindling this fire. We have similar people that we look up
Mhm,
to, and I don't
mhm.
remember how this came about, but I randomly went to Denver for a night. I had
Yeah.
this super dumb pass called the Frontier Go Wild Pass, which honestly, and if Frontier is listening, which would be really cool if we got this to that point, I honestly, F your
Wait, Therese, you touched the mic. You're off.
okay, I'm back. I'm back. Dude, Frontier, the devil from Frontier just muted my mic. Doesn't want me speaking the truth. But anyway, so I went to Denver for the night. It was a $15 flight and it was just, like, so funny, like, we literally had dinner, and then I Ubered back to the airport, at like, 5 in the morning, and while we were at dinner, we were talking about how we both look up to the like, an entrepreneur, Sarah Blakely, married to
Mhm.
Jesse Itzler, and we had kinda seen this, like, Running Man thing, and you were saying, "Oh, I'd love to go, but I can't." You just given birth at that time, and
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Should I do it?" And I left our conversations because we had another fired up conversation, and I decided to go, and then the following year, I was like, "Annie, you got to go." I visited her one other time when I had this stupid Frontier pass, and ultimately, like, you guys decided to go, and while we were there, I
Mhm.
just was thinking about why am I here? Why am I here? It's a wellness festival. There's like the most ripped, strong people I have ever seen there. That's not what drove me to go to this event. I was not going to show off my one pack. Or like to just I was going for like the fitness, but ultimately I was going to try to meet like-minded individuals. Well, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I am here with a like-minded individual. And so I talked to a couple other girls and I was like, we should do an accountability group. And then what I thought was like, one-on-one accountability is really strong because it's one-on-one. I mean, it's like the most intense
Mhm.
form of accountability you can have. A group is great too, but we realized we just had so much to talk about. And so basically I was like, can we do this? I'm an action taker, so I'm like, I want to do this. Let's do it. But you also obliged, you were in on it. It's been so helpful to have someone that's has the same growth mentality, like you can read every single book and you can
Mhm.
listen to every single podcast, but until you have someone saying, this is homework. Like by next Monday,
Mhm,
we will finish this, or give me an update, or send me the thing you told me about. It just feels really exciting when you have
mhm,
someone to go and go back and kind of like share your wins with. And I've had
yeah,
this at different times of my life, but I'd say I've spent more times in my life without it, to find someone that's on the same page as you and then happy for your wins is it can be difficult unless you're
mhm,
both, like, winning at the same time. You can't
mhm,
just have one friend that's
yes,
obsessed with growth and the other that's just, like, you're getting further and further apart. And so, yeah, I would say if I could tell myself something going back 10 years, I got lucky with meeting you, Andy, but the reason why I think it's worked with our friendship is because we do have a lot of the same values. I mean, down to like our
mhm,
religious beliefs and our beliefs in life and all those things. I always back in the day, I just chose friends based on who was fun and who was available and who could I have the most fun with. But I'm really grateful when I look at my circle now, and I know you've said this too. Maybe this is just a part of getting to be 30, to be 30 soon, and I know you are too. But maybe it's just like we just get more real about, like, what we actually want in relationships.
yeah, absolutely, and that I think every life stage is gonna be different too of what we need, and I think that's okay. There's a lot of people in my life that I'm still friends with. We're not maybe talking every single week or planning family vacations, but we're still very much friends and gonna stay in touch and genuinely care about them. You don't need every single person in your circle being like a go-getter
Mhm.
and, reading all the self-help books because honestly, that's a whole other thing where we need balance
True,
too of
true.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like people that are just like so good at just resting and being so present. I know you've touched on this and maybe we can attach it because I think it's a PDF, but the wheel that you do every
Ooh,
year
well,
of
more than
ranking.
every year. I mean, I do this all the time anytime I'm
Okay.
feeling off.
Wait, this is good. Can you share on this?
Yes.
Okay, what is it called and what are some of the things on the wheel? I
Okay,
forget.
so there is like a pumpkin pie circle, okay? And divide it
Mhm,
into 8 pieces. A slight pizza, pie, whatever, you can call it buckets. A lot of people feel this way. But basically, it's got 8 different categories. You can call them whatever you want. It's whatever's important to you. So for me, the relational, spiritual, love, just kind of like romantic relationship, partnership.
mhm,
Um, let's see, recreation, career, finance, mental health, just physical health. Um,
mhm.
those I think are the main categories. And you basically fill out the pie and you say, how full do I feel in this area? And I talk about this all the time because that's really to me what I'm trying to build in my life is a sense of balance. And funny enough, I did talk about this just a few days ago at a different event. And it's funny because that wheel has never been balanced before in my life. And what I mean by that is when I had my corporate job before entrepreneurship, my finance bucket was through the moon. I was filled at 200% and every other area was absolutely sucked dry. Now, in
Mm,
other parts of the year that I got married, every aspect was full, but the finance bucket was low because I was spending it all on wedding things.
mhm,
And then I can look at it and evaluate, oh, what parts of my area, what areas in my life need more attention now because there's other ways to say it too. People say life is like balancing a bunch of spinning plates. One drops and you hope it's not a glass plate, you hope it's a paper plate. So it's just constantly evaluating where you're at. And yeah, I do that exercise often because then I can figure out, okay, so you know for me personally it would be maybe for one of my focuses this past year has been a financial bucket, filling that more. I feel very fulfilled in my career, my relationships, my family, friend, health, all those things at the cost of I hired out people to replace me at my job. So anyways, then when I look at my chart and I say, okay, I want to focus on this area, I can say, okay, what are 3 things? Or like I could take out finance, for example, say, what's my goal? What's my vision with it? And what can I do to achieve it? So I feel like one of the difficult things is figuring out what is not going right or what is it that needs more love in your life. And so that helps you kind of decide like, this is what I need to work on. And then it's the figuring out the next steps and then actually taking action, but you gotta
mhm.
diagnose. the pain point first.
The breaking up in sections is just so good, especially for like several times in our life because it's like, again, every season things are going to change. Like you're going to have a really busy season at work. And I don't think that there's ever, you said it's never been truly balanced, but I don't know anyone that's ever had it truly balanced because it's just it comes in ebbs and flows, and even from like a parenting perspective, like newborn season and postpartum is such a thing, and it takes away from a lot. Obviously, you're not, I mean, hopefully some ladies are, but I was not like making any money during that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, like then the pendulum swings and then it swings back and all these other things. And then I think it's also just a really good reset for us and especially for a marriage or a relationship of both doing it too. I could see that. Nick and I have never done it, but you know, hey, where would you rank these things? And then just going off of one another's perspective would be really interesting of if it lines up or
Oh,
not.
it's so interesting. I had Kenan do it and I said, "Oh, really? Like you feel like you're a 10 here?" Because like maybe that's because like see my perspective because maybe that's why I'm at a 2 here because you know, I'm alluding to like keeping the house clean or like
Yeah.
tasks like that, so yeah, it is very interesting. And I think you can't it's impossible to be, I think, a 10 in all areas all the time. But if you're
Mhm.
constantly making deposits into just one piece of the pie over and over and over again without correcting, I mean,
Mhm.
then your priority isn't those other things then. And
Yeah.
maybe you don't want a family, or maybe you don't care about things, then don't put it on your pie. Maybe your pie only has 3 parts. But honestly, that sounds a
Yeah.
little bit sad to me.
And one of the best quotes I've ever heard is like, "Tell me your priorities, but then show me your calendar."
Oh,
And this is
yeah.
always like related to health, obviously for my job, but not necessarily even like getting in shape. But even just going on walks and stuff, there's a mental component, a mental health component to that. There's a getting outside component to that. There's so many other health aspects than just like going on a walk or a bike ride. And it's like, okay, then show me your calendar. Where are you prioritizing your health? And people will. I don't make my clients show me their calendar, but honestly, maybe I should. Maybe the compliance would just skyrocket. But also, sometimes I'll come to clients and they'll just basically tell me, "Oh, I worked out once this week," but their goal is to lose weight. And again, it's not that I'm only working with health clients, but everything is a ripple effect. So, how are you feeling? If you're not moving, then we can go into endorphins and all of that. But it's like, well, if you're not prioritizing it, right? And this goes perfectly back to the wheel. Guys, we will add this wheel to the show notes because I think it's really important and it's just a really good life tool of checking in with yourself. You don't have to share it with anyone, but just like, hey, how am I feeling in this category? And then what can I add to my calendar that's I asked one client, this is a side tangent, but it's really important. I asked one client, it was a husband and wife. I worked with both of them. And I asked him, I said, if you had the day off, or if you had like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off this week, but you still got paid, you're not behind on work, what would you do? And he was like, oh, he had 2 kids, and he was like, oh, I'd take my family to the zoo, probably take my wife on a date and read. He said he loves to read, but he never has time. And I was like, okay, great. And the point was, though, is that not that he had to do that in the next 3 days, but those are all very doable things. So my homework for him was I want you to in the next month, I want you to plan a date and hire a sitter. Like just cross it off the list. And he did. And he was like, wow, I just never, we just need those reminders of putting it on the calendar. And yeah, maybe just the visualization of like, okay, yeah, I do feel like my marriage could be a little bit more prioritized, or my friends friends could be a little bit more prioritized. So I'm planning a girls' night to go to dinner or something. Life just happens because of the distraction. And then when it's last minute, it's just hard. It's hard to do and
Mhm,
like follow through on.
mhm. When you look at your pie, do you know where your focus area is right now?
Yeah,
You
I do.
do?
Well, well, okay. No, actually, no. Let's take that back. I'd probably have to go through each one.
Yeah.
I feel like some things are like really good, but I don't know, that's a hard question. I would have to go through it and then
Yep.
kinda see. I
Yep.
feel like my friendships, my community is really good. I feel like that's something that I've really been prayerful about last year and then this year, and I've just really seen that come to fruition of especially values-wise, and then another part of that is, like, meeting people that parent similar or that want to instill the same values in their kids, and again, I'm sure this is gonna change at every single milestone of kids and how many kids you have and all the things, but I would say that's, like, really been a strong one right now. One that's listening, if this sounds a little bit choppy, Therese has the most sensitive mic, and it keeps going in and out,
Dude,
so we apologize.
every time I breathe a little bit too deeply, it mutes it. So, yeah, this episode will be called Truth versus the mic. Like mic 1,
Yeah, I
truth
love it.
0.
I love it. Next question, though, I do have for you. Specifically because of your business background, but also kind of just going off of this growth conversation, you talked about this of like putting the reps in, especially for anyone that's wanting to build something, an entrepreneur, maybe they're a seasoned entrepreneur, but it's just like we live in this world of instant gratification, and that is just not real life. And you have been putting in the reps for so long. So, yeah, can you speak to that? Like, what would your advice be to younger you or a newer entrepreneur or just someone that's trying to build something?
Okay. About putting the reps in. Well, what I see on the internet right now all the time that even makes me question my reality is people make it look like you can be successful in 30 days. It
Mhm.
bothers me so much because I think I'm doing something wrong, but I'm like, I think they're just scamming people. So I personally don't know anyone that has had an overnight success. So I'm not here to sell anyone like that you can do something in 30 days or 60 days. I mean, I know people say if you stick to something for this amount of time, you will see great things. And I totally think that's true. Um, there are a lot of things that go into being successful, at least from my positioning or from my experience with entrepreneurship, I'm not just sitting here doing business all day long because so much of building a business, I mean, I am my business in a sense. So I am constantly trying to work on my health and my stability. And if I'm cranky and irritable as a person in real life, I'm going to bring that to my work environment. And then my employees are going to bring that to customers. So, like, it is constantly a refinement of me personally and then building the business as well. But I mean, I've been putting in reps for 6 years now, and finally I'm finally feeling like I mean, I should take a step back. I wouldn't have kept doing this for 6 years if I didn't believe in myself and my ability to make this thing
Mm.
come to life, but there have been multiple times over the past 6 years where I thought, how do I go up from here? How do I get back up from here?" I constantly go back to stories of other entrepreneurs, other you insert the blank on anyone that anyone looks up to, and there has been many points where people are, for example, your favorite actor or actresses sleeping in their cars or, like, someone
Mhm.
betting everything on it, and so it has not just been one big up spiral. There have been many times where I've thought, "Could it be easier doing something else?" But I go back to, "Why am I doing this?" And ultimately I'm not just in life to coast and get to the finish line all safe and sound. I want to have stories and experiences and wisdom that I've learned along the way. And that comes with trying new things. It comes with falling and getting back up. It comes with, your mic going out on you 10 times in a row. You turn it back on 11 times, you know? So,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I feel like I'm constantly, and sometimes, just like anything, you're putting in reps and it's not getting you to where you wanna go, so then you have to change your strategy. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I've been constantly trying to figure this thing out, and I have seen growth in so many areas, and, when I go back to the buckets, I can say, "Okay, in year 1 through 3 in business, my relationships were skyrocketed, my spiritual life
Mm.
skyrocketed, my health and wellness skyrocketed, but maybe finance went down. Okay, well, now for me personally this year, it's more of like, how can I get my finances and get my output and my
Mhm.
profitability higher. So now I'm putting in reps to learn more about that. And it might be at the cost of maybe not spending quite as much time with people. Or, if I'm lucky, I don't have to sacrifice something along the way because I already have the habits for some things. Or like
Mm.
instead of working harder, me personally working harder, I've hired more people so that my business is more profitable, but not at the expense of my time and other things that matter to me. So, I mean, yeah, 6 years worth of reps. I guess how many days is that?
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh,
365 times 6. I think people say you have to spend 10,000 days on something before you
10,000 hours,
10,000
right? To
hours? Oh,
become
10,000
to
hours.
be
Okay.
I think to become an expert, right? Or something?
Okay, so if we say, let's just say for ease, 2,000 working hours, if you were working 40 hours a week, which
Mhm.
when you love what you do, you don't really even count the hours, but if I was counting the hours,
Mhm.
it'd be between 15 and 70 every week.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Like, so if I'm on like the 12,000 hour point, I do feel like I have mastered some things. And then along the way, I've covered things that are new devils.
Yeah, for sure. Teresa's also her and her husband bought a duplex, and the reason why I'm sharing this is because they've just run into so many issues with it. I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
You call it the devilplex?
Yeah, they called it the
Or
devilplex, but now
angleplex?
we're we're changing our mindset and it's the angelplex. So, but one thing that you shared is like specifically in, they're essentially like gutting it and remodeling it and they're going to live in it and hopefully rent it out to someone else. And one of the things about it though was like I remember you saying this, and it's just such a true point of like when people share a reel of a house demo, and then it's like fixer upper, and it's like done in 30 seconds. We look at it, but
No.
it's been so long
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and I just think because our minds are constantly seeing that, we like forget. We really just forget like how long this is actually going to take. Whether it's building a business, remodeling a house, getting in shape, getting our health in order, all of that, right?
Yes, we talk about this all the time, and, like, that's the thing, I fell into the trap of, like, people in front of a dusty, crusty house, and they clap, and suddenly it's, like, gorgeous, and I'm literally we've had this devilplex, we call it the angelplex, hallelujah, we'll call it angel. We've had angel for a year and 3 months now, and at the beginning, I was, like, recording all these transitions, like, I felt like lost. I literally lost myself during this project, like, I woke up every day and I was like, "Nah, no, this isn't my life. This is a jump into this dumb, stupid trap," but here I was. But lo and behold, I will once I finish this project, I will make a transition, and I will put a very long comment like, a very long caption of, like, "This is a lie." And, we talk another thing we talk about is Father Itzler. We call Jesse Itzler Father Itzler. We look at him and we look up to him, but he's
Mhm,
also been doing this for, like, 30 years, like, maybe
mhm.
25. So it's like by the time you find people that you're looking up to, they, it just seems like it happens so
Yeah.
fast. And that's why it's so important to have someone that is in the trenches with you at the same time
Mhm.
because I don't even remember. 3 years in a business, honest to gosh, was a blur. I cannot relate.
Yeah.
I can remember, but I can't fully relate to like the fears and the overwhelm of not having
Mhm.
employees and all that. Like, I just know I got through it, but it's hard to remember, but it's nice to be able to pick up the phone with someone that's going through the same thing and, you can be in the trenches together. I haven't seen anything happen super fast, but I do hope I'm hoping for this, like, breakthrough moment where on the outside it looks like it blew up, but I know the foundation that I've laid.
Yes, yes.
Any day now, it can happen. I'll be like, now,
For
it was not easy. It was not easy.
for sure. And going back to, like, what you had said about comparing with people, I think my friend was just talking about how she wanted to find a mentor, and it's like, I've gone back and forth with trying to find mentors, but at the same like, I've got some older women in my life, one that comes to mind, she's amazing, she's an angel, but she's, like, 72.
Love it.
Her children have children, she's a grandma, like, I love her heart, but then at the same time, my season of life with a toddler and, being married for 5 years and just, like, it's just so different, and not that I don't value her opinion, but I think it also is just a reminder of us for us too, of like, one, who are we comparing to, but also two, who are we taking advice from? And breaking this down into the categories that you're talking about. For example, the lady I'm referring to, love her. I would absolutely take spiritual advice from her. I would take marriage advice from her because she's been married for 50 years. I would take parenting advice from her. However, would I take, you know, building a podcast from her? No, because she never did it, as far as I know. Maybe I have to ask her. But but like, building a podcast or like getting in shape postpartum, like some of those things are just so far for her, like so far away that it's not that it's not valuable advice. It's just in this season, is that who I should, ask about certain things? And I think that that's a big thing too of someone said this to me years ago, and I really think this is one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten, but you can have different people giving you advice for different things. Like, I don't go to the same friend for every single piece of advice or opinion I need. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, or Therese, specifically you, of like, there's some friends where I kind of know what they're going to say in the best way or in the worst way. Like if I'm bringing something to them,
Mhm.
right? If I tell Therese, hey, I decided I'm going to open a business tomorrow, she'd be like, all right, let's go. But at the same time, if I told someone else that, then they'd be like, are you crazy? Like, why are you going to do
How
that?
would you file a business license or something? It'd be like,
Yeah, exactly. So it's just so I think that's another thing too of just like kind of going back to everything we're talking about, like who's a mentor that you can go to and who has put the reps in of something that you actually want to achieve. And then also just obviously this is goes without saying, but just a very easy reminder of stop comparing ourselves to people on social media. Like we talk about Jesse Itzler. He's like 56, 57, or I mean, he might be even older than that. He has 4 kids and he's a billionaire. Like as much as I love his values and have met him and I think he's amazing, there's also a component where like our lives are just so incredibly different that it's just we're not going to be besties, and that's fine. And I don't need to follow every single piece of business advice because he built something that when he didn't have kids. And you can just go down this rabbit hole of like comparison when really the reality of the situation can be very different.
yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. And like back to the mentorship thing, I don't even have like one single mentor that I'm meeting with every single month, but I've had hundreds of mentorship meetings with different people that, sometimes they get it and then on other times they don't. They can be an amazing business person, but if they don't understand business finance or business decisions with a food company, you know, so it is really good to specialize. If you can find mentors that or get someone to sit down with you, that is
Yeah.
actually where you want to be in your area. But I think, it's going to be hard. You have to show, in my opinion, you have to actually be dedicated to something before the right mentors are just going to pop up. And,
Hmm.
a restaurateur with 30 years of experience is not just going to sit down with me unless I have some type of connection to them personally, if I don't already have the reps put in. So like,
Yeah.
I feel like I used to have to pitch myself to like, meet with people and get mentorship, but now it's like I can meet someone and if they own a business, whether they own a business for 3 years or 30 years, they're like, "Oh, you've owned a business for 6 years? You're serious? Like this is your career? Yeah, let's set up coffee next week." So, the right mentors, what is it? It's like when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that, but that's definitely kind of the whole you have to take a leap of faith even when every light is not green, when there's the yellow and
Hmm.
red lights, and eventually
Yeah.
the things you need will come along the way.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so we are winding down on time, which is so sad. Teresa and I have had so many technical difficulties during this podcast, but hopefully it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do a part 2, but I have a couple questions that I want to wrap up. One is if you could give your 5 years ago self. So right when you were kind of ramping up Tricky Foods, this can be business related or not business related. What piece of advice would you give your younger self?
I still feel like I'm the same person from 5 years ago. So I'm like, 5 years ago.
Or it can be any timeline if you want.
Well, I I don't know why I'm thinking of this now, but I almost wanna tell my future self something. Future
Do
self,
it. Do it. Let's
which
go.
would be like, I do hope that in 5 years, like, these businesses, the one, Snacksy, my new business, my e-commerce shippable charcuterie company has popped off, and I hope Tricky Foods has popped
Mhm.
off. And what I wanna remember is, like, how difficult this past year was for me in
Mhm.
so many ways. I didn't touch on it during this, but the sacrifices that I feel like I had to make the things I wanted to work, and now I see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it was like it felt like I was in a dark hole, you know, for a
Mhm.
long time last year. And I just, like, want to remind myself to be humble, but also to, like, see and feel for people when they go through difficult things,
Mhm.
because life is not just like an upslope up. I wanna be there, I wanna offer my house to someone if someone's, like, lease runs up and they don't have a place to live, or I wanna have
Mhm.
someone over for dinner, or, like, I wanna be able to pay for something for someone, you know, when they're going through a difficult time. So, I think
Mhm.
that's really important, 'cause I used to think I was, like, nothing could touch me, but life got hard last year, and I have gotten a lot of generosity from people. Oh,
Mhm.
TLDR, I've been living in a bunch of different people's homes and basements. Like, Father Itzler was couch
Yeah.
surfing, like, I'm in my year of my version of that. I'm living in an unfinished basement with family, and
Mhm.
I've spent, of the past 365 days, I spent probably 270 of them living out of a suitcase, which is not glamorous.
Mhm.
But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to, like,
Mhm.
see the end here. So, yeah, it's to my future self. My younger self, it still feels like the same me in some senses,
Mhm.
but I would just say I typically have an answer for this one, but
No, I mean, I think that's good. I think what you're pressing on is, remember what it took to get here and then share it with someone that might be a few steps behind you.
yeah,
Like, I think that's great.
I will say one thing to my younger self, because this would change if you ask this question to anyone. I think it would change depending on the day, but I would
Mhm.
say, oh, no, I forgot it. Oh, wait. Like, someone else that's older than you doesn't always know more than you. You can be an
Mm.
expert in something, or you can have a lot of experience in something no matter what your age is. So
Mm.
you don't have,
That's good.
yeah,
That's really
that's
good.
just what I'm thinking of right now, but
I love that.
it's
No, I think that's good.
right.
I I think that's really good, for sure. No, absolutely. And because I do think, yeah, we associate wisdom and age and different things, but then at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean they know more, or going back to the values thing, or are living in a way that you want to exemplify or go after as well.
Mhm.
And then I know we're short on time, which is such a bummer, but can you fill us in on, you can give background on Tricky Foods too, but also Snacksy and where to find you, how to order a charcuterie board, all the things.
Yes. Okay, so if anyone's listening to this from 48 of the 50 states, sorry, Alaska and Hawaii, if you're from Alaska and Hawaii, invite me there and I will bring you one. But we ship charcuterie boards nationwide now, so it's a sister company to my first business called Tricky Foods, which is a cheese and charcuterie shop, wine and beer bar, and event space in Madison, Wisconsin, aka the cheese capital of the entire country, obviously Wisconsin. But now we ship them. So you can order that on snacksy.com. If you're in the Madison area or Wisconsin area, you can order something from trickyfoods.com. We just have more variety, but Snacksy is like the perfect thing to gift for anyone if you want
Mhm,
to, say hi, or you're thinking of them, or they just had a baby, or get well
mhm.
soon gift, or corporate gift. Very easy, like one click and it's there. And it's
Yeah.
it will really wow your recipient. My first
No, for
handy.
sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I did receive a board and it was the best. It's just like already it looks so nice. So I brought it to my mom's and we had like a little night with it and just kind of all the things. And it's just so nice to not even think about. I feel like charcuterie sometimes I get overwhelmed because I'm like, okay, what do I buy? And
Mhm,
it's all perfect in there and fresh.
mhm, mhm.
So yes, love, visit it, visit her site. And then where can people find you on Instagram or socials
Mhm.
as well?
Yeah, there's a couple. Sorry, guys. You can choose what
No, it's great.
you wanna do. Okay, Instagram would be Tricky Foods and Snacksy Snacks. However,
Mhm.
I don't actually run those Instagrams, but I am on them. But if you wanna get a hold of me, hanging with Hamadi's is just me having fun with my husband. And then I will put this out there. I love LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn hoe, as I call myself. So once a week, I am updating the world on something fun that happened the week prior. And that's what I love. I love the business. I love the
Mhm.
business world. So that's kind of been my passion. I love cheese and charcuterie boards too. Sure, that's fine, but it's the business part that I'm excited about,
Mhm.
and that's why I'm all over LinkedIn.
I love that. No, yeah, guys, seriously go follow her. She's just always sharing. I feel like one of your really big strengths too is just sharing business knowledge, but in a really creative and fun way and what you've learned and it's easier to apply. It's not dry. It's not, I mean, obviously after listening to this conversation, I'm sure you guys got a glimpse of Teresa's personality, but it's not like this corporate business owner. And I think it's just fun. It's fun to learn from her. So yeah, definitely connect on all the things. I'll put them in the show notes. And we will definitely have to do a part two
Have
because
me on a
we had
6 months, baby. I'm already booked 6 months out. No, no, I mean, like, I wanna be
I
booked by you 6 months out.
oh, yeah. No, that sounds great. Or yeah, you can come to the
Oh,
mountains
wait,
and then
yeah.
we can record
We'll do
live.
it in
That'd be fun.
person so the devil can't get to our technical devices.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on. And yeah, wishing everyone that's listening a happy
Happy
Sunday.
s
And
Honeyful Sunday.
oh, yeah. And then please, as always, share this if it resonates with you or if you think of a friend that it would resonate with. And then, of course, please always subscribe and rate the show.